All right, so let's move forward and determine if our next birthday, our player's next birthday falls this year or the next year. How can we do that? Well, for that purpose, I'm going to create one more date time object, this time for the birthday for this year. Now, the idea is very simple. Let's say somebody's birthday is 5th of June, whatever year. Now, every year it's going to fall on 5th of June. So, all I'm trying to do really is to figure out in this year which is going on, when did this birthday fall, and that is the object I'm creating. So how do I get the current year? Well, remember, I have got a current time, which is a date time object, and I have got, you know uh, we remember that current time being a date time object has this attribute called year. So I say current time dot year, that I can assign to a variable this year. Once I do this, then I can really create this year's birthday by, so I said this, let's say year underscore birthday. Now this is again going to be a date time object, but I'm going to be creating it like I create a date of birth, and hence I can use a similar syntax. So I say dt dot date, date time, and this will be based on this year. So the question is that this year, when is the birthday? Same month as the user had provided and same day. Let's see this working once, and then we'll be very clear on what's going on. And then we'll see how we'll use this further for the logic. Which year were you born in? So I say 1977. Which month? I say, for example, 1. Now, which day of that month? I say 31. So that's 31st January 1977. Now, if I look at this year underscore b day, now I expect this to be a date time object, like date birth, and indeed that's what it is. It is in fact 2022, which was the current year. Remember, the current time was 2022, hence this year is 2022 131, because basically this year the birthday would have come on 31st January 2022. Now, will this be the next birthday, or will my next birthday be next year? Well, again, I can use a very simple logic to figure this out. Let's kind of see this a little bit pictorially, and then we can look at how we can code this. The idea is very simple. Let's say we are running in this year, and we know which year we are in because our current time tells us. So whatever year current time tells us, we are in that year. Now, there are two scenarios. One scenario is that our this year's birthday has already gone by. For example, in the example I just took, my birthday, 31st January, has already gotten over this year because we are already in November. In which case, my next birthday will not be this year. In fact, my next birthday will be a year later from here. Because remember, the month and day won't change, but the year would change, which means if it's 2022 right now, my next birthday will be in 2023, 31st January. On the other hand, let's say my current time is here, my this year's birthday is after the current time, which means that yes, it's in the same year. Remember, this year's birthday has to be in the same year, but this has not yet come. So for example, if somebody's birthday today is 23rd November, if somebody's birthday is, let's say, in December, then the situation holds, in which case the next birthday is going to be just in this year. Really, the reason I showed you this is because there are exactly two scenarios, and this is a classic situation where we can use an if-else statement to communicate, or to get our code to do what we want. So I'm going to do exactly that and pretty much depict this whole thing in code, and then we look at it in a little bit more detail. What's going on here. So I come and say, okay, look, I'm going to compare here. I'm going to write an if then else condition here. So I say if this year, b day is, say, greater than current time. Now this is actually quite interesting because here I am comparing two date time objects, and this facility exists to me. Remember, I told you there are several capabilities that are coming along with me, so I really do not have to write a complicated code that, if the year is more, then I look at the month being more, and so on and so forth. I can just put this condition. It compares these two objects. If it's more, it means that my this year birthday hasn't yet come. It will be, it's still this year's birthday hasn't yet come, which means my next birthday will also be basically just this year, as we just saw, will be this year b day. Um, Else I can write, else next birthday, next b day will be, well, I also I need to create this carefully. B day will be on the next year, and for that purpose I can create a new date time object. In fact, I've already created one object here when I assign this equal to this year's birthday, but I'm going to create this new date time object. Again, I'm creating this by giving year, month and day, but remember this has to be this year plus 1, and month and day remain exactly the same. So we can test this code, and I can just basically maybe say print here next b day, and then we take a few examples, it will become clear. uh, let's run this code. Let's say we'll take, let's say, whichever you want to say. I say 1977 31 31. Now I was born on a Monday. Now this guy clearly tells me that my next birthday will be in 2023, because that's what happened here. So if I look at, say, next b day, it is a date time object with 2023 13100. Now, why did it get created this way? Because remember, I created this here in this else condition. So next b day is dt.date time this year plus 1, which is 2022 plus 1. Now this is an integer now, and hence I can add this year plus 1, 2023 131. On the other hand, let's say I try another birthday. So I say, for example, I was born in 1977, but this time around I say 11, which means 11th, month, November, and I say, for example, 28. Now remember, the present time is 23, which means, really I expect this to be caught here, and it indeed tells me, well, I was born on a Monday, all right, but also tells me that the next birthday, which is here, will still be in 2022, because if I look at the current time, you know it is a date time object which is telling me it's still 23rd November, but my birthday was on 28th November, which means the next birthday is still going to be just this year, and that's what we are seeing here. Now, in fact, what I can do is that I can make it a little bit more clear for my let's say player. I can say your next birthday will be this year, because it's the same year. On the other hand, here if I go and say, for example, print, say, your your next birth sorry birthday will be next year. Now if I do this, it will maybe I can add an extra print over here so it becomes a bit clear for me. And also I can remove, let's say, I can comment out this part, right? So then it will just tell me when will my next birthday will be. Let's try this out. So if I say whichever you want, I say 1977, say, maybe I'll take a different date, say 2 and 4. I was born on a Friday. My next birthday will be next year, which is indeed 2023. On the other hand, if I tried another example, let's say 1987, months 12, 15. Now my next birthday will be this year, right? And that's exactly what I was trying to do. Now, before I wrap this up, a little bit of compare and contrast. This if then else that we used is in fact exactly same logic as what we had done in Scratch before. There was a block called if then else, where we would put a logical condition, and we would then build the conditions for what happens if this condition is true or if this condition is false. So this was a T junction. The exact same thing is going on here. We are saying that if this year birthday is more than current year, then we can indeed uh, do this, and else we do this. Right now, there's a little bit more here with respect to the syntax. We'll talk about that in the next video. But see the similarity in logic, and that's where we go on. Now, like I said, we are using greater than here on date time objects. Basically, true indicates if the time will appear later elsewhere. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.